Hey guys, it's Drew here, and I'm here today to make a video about a response to Maha and Astrology. I haven't made a video for a while, but I definitely felt called to make this one. And so I have some cards to show you, and I need a piece of paper because I have notes. And so let's see if this actually records properly, and let's go. So the first question or focus area is your sun card. And so for me, I am ruled by, well, mine's Cancer, I'm a Cancerian, and it is ruled by the Chariot. And this has definitely been a prominent and active energy in my life. And when the Chariot is reverse, I basically just plummet. um, I've had to move a lot in my life. My parents shifted us around like a lot, like every year. I've had to move through some really difficult traumatic experiences and be able to make it through to the other side, um, healthy and sane and still intact. And the Chariot has always been a card that has sort of prompted me and reminded me that I'm capable of moving beyond my situation, beyond my current situation, whether it be good or bad, because there needs to be balance. And I always like the polarities expressed in this card as well, with the black and white horses. For me, that definitely is something that I try to rein in, and it is part of being a Cancerian, is having that light and dark aspect. I mean, it's part of being a person in general, but I definitely feel because Cancer is ruled by the moon, which is about mirroring and the personal self and the unconscious, it has been my path to work with the light and the dark. And prominently, particularly in my magic practice, I work with dark deity and themes, underworld themes. I work with Morrigan, Hades, um, Kali, and so those energies have been prominent and helping me to express the subconscious aspect, because I live my life through the moon. I live my life through um, dreams and the astral and the power of being a high priestess. And so being able to express those aspects of those horses, and really hold in the reins, because I feel like with the Chariot, she's very in control of her power as the charioteer. And that's how I feel about my life when I'm in control of the reins. When I am able to balance those two aspects, especially the aspect of having a ruling moon, then I definitely feel like I am expressing my sun card and expressing my Cancerian self, because as you can see with the moon is often associated with water, and water is a very important aspect in my practice and in my general life as well. But also, you see the theme of two and balance throughout the moon and the Chariot, which, as I mentioned before, and you'll probably see through other cards, balancing those two aspects, because to me that looks like a male and female wolf or dog, or wolf and dog. And then you can also see the pillars. So it's been about really learning to balance the two aspects of myself in whatever situation it may be. For example, like student and professional, or um, lover and autonomous person. So it's definitely been a very impactful theme. And actually, looking at it now, it makes a lot of sense why the other cards follow. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. I have a bit of a cold. Okay, so the next card is your moon sign, and that is the core emotions. So for my core emotions, I'm a Gemini. I'm two-faced. Well, I like to think that I'm not two-faced, but I do have two aspects of myself that are offering conflict as well, which again, the two, the twins. And um, in saying that too, like my emotions, I'm always drawn to twin energy, like twin flames. I tend to really gravitate towards stories that have um, two siblings or two partners, and that's been a prominent part of my way that I express myself too. With being a polyamorous person, I don't I don't identify with the need to express my emotions with just one person, whether it's romantically or platonically. I tend to always feel open to expressing my experience with multiple people. So that's another aspect of emotions as well. So with that, we have the Lovers card. With the Lovers card, for me, it's been primarily about accepting the masculine and feminine in myself. I mean, it's quite easy for me to relate to female deity, and yet I struggle in my body as a female. Um, but it's difficult for me to identify with male deity, but I feel a lot more masculine than I do feminine, especially given my PCOS, which chemically alters my body anyway to reflect a more masculine energy. And so this has definitely been a theme throughout my life, in that to be able to express the whole of myself and actually love the whole of myself and be able to do that through whatever I do, I've needed to embrace all these different elements that don't make me atypically a certain gender or atypically a certain person, or as I said, reflecting in romance and friendships. You know, I was always a tomboy growing up, and then I sort of shifted, and then I come back. So that's been an experience and a half, and I have gone from identifying as gay to being bi to being open to being bi again. So it's a card of definite sexuality as well for me, and the balance of finding um, people who I identify with that can express that. And so the card that is ruled by Gemini, which is Mercury, which makes total sense. It's all about communication. So for me, throughout my whole entire life, including my childhood, I grew up way, 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 way too fast. I was put into a parenting role very early and had to learn how to communicate, but I also had to learn to temper a lot of my own actual questions and emotional um, security. And that sort of filtered through into my adult life. With relationships, I have a huge issue with not being understood, and that's where my negative or reversed, um, I guess you can say, magician comes out, where I'm not using my tools, I'm not using my resources, I am not thinking things through, I'm not going within, I'm actually going without. And Mercury for me, when I'm not communicating, can be an absolute bitch. uh, or when I feel like I'm not being heard, or people around me feel like I'm not listening to them as well, which is really hard because I spend a lot of my time more or less listening to other people, and then sort of being a coach, mentor sort of aspect of the friendship or relationship and boosting people up. So it's been about communicating with self as well. So for the magician, for me, this is really about tapping into my core emotions and using the resources that I do have to communicate with myself. I spent a lot of my teenage years basically just doing whatever I could to not listen to what was going on in my head. Um, and that obviously led to a lot of trauma, that led to a lot of really dodgy behavior. So when I came into my own in my adulthood, only within like the last 4 years or so, learning about how I identified as being a witch and a chaos witch and a creative person definitely helps with having the energy of the magician, because he has everything he needs at his disposal and he's quite skilled already at doing that. He just has to tap into that energy and actually see that he has the resources. And that's a good part about being a communicator as well, like having the emotional literacy and also the common skills to really assess what situation you're in, and also the emotions of other people as well. If people are bombastic or they tend to be really agitated and passive, I try really hard to just step away from the situation, because I don't think anything comes out of being passive. I also don't think anything comes out of being silent. So that's one of my own difficulties as well in shadows, that when I get depressed, I end up being silent and I don't actually take responsibility for that sometimes. So that's been one of my lessons in life as well. So, lastly, we have my ascending, which is Leo, and the card for Leo is Strength, and it is ruled by the Sun. And this is how um, how the world sees me and how the public sees me. And for the most part, I think this is really accurate. When I'm not sort of going through a depressive cycle, I'm a very chatty, talkative, excitable, energetic, creative, annoying person to be around. Um, I tend to definitely take on my role as a coach, mentor, assistant for creative people when I'm in my solar aspect. And I think a lot of the people around me can identify with the fact that I do tend to sort of emit joy when I am in my power and walking in that power and actually allowing myself to shine. I do emit that joy and bring happiness to people and offer them things that bring them inspiration and joy too, because the sun is also about uh, igniting that inspiration within you and all your capacity as a person. And in terms of strength, I definitely stand in my power more when I do rise up, when I do take the warrior role, when I'm not afraid to be who I am and shine, especially around my writing. Like, I've had a lot of issues with accepting the fact that I'm good at what I do and being seen, because once you're seen, there's a spotlight on you, and I'm not always great in the spotlight. I don't really know how to deal with people liking me either. It kind of freaks me out because I spent a great deal of my life being a bookish art nerd who basically didn't have any friends. And it's kind of similar with early in my adulthood life too. Part of me going down destructive pathways was so that I didn't have to be successful. I didn't have to um, have that weight of expectation, because it was kind of expected I wouldn't go anywhere within my life. It was expected that I would not work and I would just kind of lose concept of reality and just kind of go down a spiraling hill. I didn't really have many supporters or role models to keep me alive for a long time. So when I did find those as well, I ended up finding it within myself. And that's been part of my practice as a chaos witch as well, is really finding where my masculine energy is, and action, and my ability to create from fire and rebirth. And I definitely think like the sun and strength is about standing in your power and really experiencing the power of rebirth as well, and allowing people to witness that. I have trouble with allowing people not to see me strong, and so that's another aspect as well in reverse. So that is my video, and hopefully it gave you some more insight into who I am. It's definitely given me more insight again, like different layers to, why I experienced things the way I did. Like, I haven't really looked into my moon sign that much, but knowing that Mercury was a major theme and having a love as a magician, it's really brought up a lot of stuff that has not made a lot of sense to me. And I kind of have just started working with astrology over the past probably year. I definitely recommend you read Tarot and Astrology by Corinne Kenner, but I've also been working through my astrological diaries and a couple of other books as well, which I can also make another video as well if you guys are interested. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.